Have you ever felt that quiet sense of security at your job, believing you're valued, that your years of hard work and loyalty mean something, until, suddenly, it all changes in a single afternoon? One moment, you're part of the team, the next, you're packing your desk into a cardboard box, wondering what went wrong. Welcome to the unpredictable world of the American job market, where dedication and experience can sometimes feel like liabilities instead of assets. Here, loyalty is often rewarded not with a promotion, but with a pink slip. And as you walk out, you might notice a new group walking in, faces you don't recognize, accents you haven't heard before, all ready to take your place. It's a story that repeats itself across the country. One day, thousands of Americans, people who've given years, sometimes decades, to their companies, find themselves out of work, standing in long lines at job fairs, resumes in hand, trying to figure out their next move. The very next day, a fresh wave of eager talent arrives, clutching passports and special visa documents, ready to fill those empty seats. They're excited, ambitious, and willing to work hard for a shot at the American dream. It's almost like a corporate version of trading in your old reliable sedan for a shiny new model, one that runs not just on fuel, but on hope, ambition, and sometimes desperation. The old is quietly pushed aside, while the new is welcomed with open arms. This isn't some hidden conspiracy theory. It's happening right in front of us, in broad daylight. Just glance at the headlines: mass layoffs, record numbers of visa applications, and stories of companies restructuring to stay competitive. But if you dig a little deeper, you'll see a different narrative unfolding. The official story is about efficiency and innovation, but federal filings and hiring records often reveal the truth. While jobs are being cut at home, new positions are quietly being filled by workers from abroad. The numbers don't always make sense, unless you realize that the goal isn't just to save money but to reallocate it. It's not about cutting costs, but about spending differently, often at the expense of long-term employees. Wrapped in layers of corporate jargon like global talent acquisition and workforce optimization. The reality is simpler. Companies are searching for people who will do the same work for less pay, with fewer complaints, and with little expectation of job security. For many American workers, it's a cold, calculated business decision that leaves them questioning everything they believed about hard work and the promise of the American dream. The sense of betrayal is real, and the uncertainty about the future is even more so. The harsh truth: that dream so many chased for generations, it's been outsourced, shipped off to a contractor in a distant time zone, where the workday never ends, and the cost of labor is always lower. So how did we get here? Let's take a closer look at the world of work visas and how they're reshaping the American workplace, one paycheck at a time. Work visas are often seen as the golden tickets of corporate America, coveted by millions around the world who dream of building a new life and career in the United States. For many, landing one of these visas is a life-changing opportunity, a foot in the door to a world of possibilities. But for most, the prize isn't a corner office or a glamorous lifestyle. Instead, it's a cubicle, a stack of paperwork, and of course, a tax bill waiting at the end of the year. These government-issued documents allow foreign nationals to work legally for a specific employer who must sponsor them through a mountain of forms, legal fees, and government red tape. The process is complex, often stressful, and can take months or even years. There's an alphabet soup of work visas, but the H-1B is the undisputed star, designed for specialty occupations ranging from rocket scientists and software engineers to PowerPoint wizards and data analysts. It's the visa everyone talks about, and the one most fiercely competed for. Officially, these visas are supposed to fill critical skills gaps, used only when no qualified American worker can be found for the job. The idea is to keep the US competitive and innovative. But in reality, the H-1B has quietly become Plan A for many companies, not just a last resort. It's a go-to strategy for hiring, not just an emergency measure. Today, it's a pipeline for routine tech and business jobs, roles that are far from rare or extraordinary. The program, once reserved for the best and brightest, now fills seats for everyday positions. The system is less about finding a needle in a haystack and more about importing the whole haystack, especially if it means saving on labor costs and increasing profits for big corporations. What started as a safety valve for rare talent has evolved into a powerful tool for large-scale labor substitution, sparking debates about fairness, opportunity, and the future of the American workforce. The H-1B visa is the backbone of Silicon Valley's staffing strategy, quietly powering the tech industry's relentless growth and innovation. While the world marvels at the latest gadgets and apps, few realize that much of this progress is built on the shoulders of foreign talent, brought in through a system that's as controversial as it is essential. Every year, the US government offers 85,000 H-1B visas, but demand far outstrips supply. The lottery system draws in hundreds of thousands of hopeful applicants from around the globe, all vying for a shot at the American tech dream. For tech companies, these visas aren't just a nice-to-have, they're a lifeline. Without them, many firms argue they'd struggle to find the specialized skills needed to stay competitive in a fast-moving industry. But the system isn't without its flaws. The law says H-1B workers must be paid the prevailing wage, but that term is open to interpretation. In practice, companies often pay at the lower end of the scale, saving millions in labor costs. Outsourcing giants like Tata, Infosys, and Cognizant have become experts at navigating the H-1B process. They bring in large numbers of their own employees, not just to fill skill gaps, but to fulfill massive contracts for American clients. Sometimes the impact is deeply personal. American workers are asked to train their own replacements, often under the threat of losing severance or recommendations, before being shown the door. What was meant to be a program for rare, niche talent has, in many cases, become a tool for replacing experienced Americans with cheaper, more compliant labor from overseas. For H-1B holders, the stakes are high. Their legal status in the US is tied directly to their job. If they lose it, they have just weeks to find another sponsor or face deportation. This creates a huge power imbalance. Employers hold all the cards, and workers are often afraid to speak up about mistreatment or unfair conditions, knowing their future in America hangs in the balance. The result? A workforce that's skilled, affordable, and unlikely to rock the boat, exactly what many companies want. But for American workers, it's a different story. The fear of being replaced, the frustration of training your successor, and the sense of being undervalued have sparked protests and a growing backlash. The H-1B visa may be Silicon Valley's not-so-secret weapon, but for many, it's also a source of anxiety and division, fueling a debate that shows no signs of slowing down. For companies, it's a dream workforce. For American workers, it's a nightmare that's all too real. Nowhere is this layoff and hire paradox clearer than in Silicon Valley. Tech giants like Google, Amazon, and Microsoft have laid off thousands, citing efficiency and uncertainty. Yet during the same period, they're top applicants for H-1B visas. The contradiction is glaring. How can you be desperate for talent and laying off thousands at the same time? Companies claim they're cutting in one area and hiring in another, but many H-1B roles overlap with those eliminated. The cycle is cynical. Layoffs please Wall Street, then companies quietly restock with cheaper visa workers. It's financial engineering that treats people as numbers. The American worker becomes collateral damage in the pursuit of shareholder value. The winners? Executives and investors. This isn't just a tech problem, it's everywhere. Finance, healthcare, and even universities are major users of work visas. Banks hire foreign analysts and IT specialists. Hospitals bring in doctors and nurses, often citing shortages. Even universities sponsor H-1Bs for researchers and staff, sometimes to save on costs. What began as a targeted solution is now a broad staffing tool. The logic has shifted from, "we can't find anyone," to, "we can find someone cheaper." This affects engineers, bankers, and lab techs across the country. The scale is staggering, a quiet, profound shift in the American workforce. The social contract is being rewritten in the fine print of a visa application. Why do companies do this? First, cost. Hiring a younger H-1B worker is cheaper in salary and benefits. Second, the skills gap. Companies claim they can't find enough Americans with the right STEM skills. It's a convenient excuse that shifts blame to the education system. Third, control. Visa workers' legal status depends on their job, making them less likely to demand raises or leave. This gives employers immense leverage and workforce stability. Finally, globalization. Big companies see themselves as global, not American. They want the best talent, regardless of nationality, and their loyalty is to shareholders, not countries. If hiring abroad maximizes profit, that's what they'll do. National borders are just an inconvenience. The result? A workforce optimized for profit, not community. This isn't just numbers, it's people's lives. For laid-off Americans, it's not just a lost paycheck, but lost identity and security. Many are mid-career with families and mortgages, suddenly competing with younger, cheaper applicants. Age discrimination is real, even if it's hidden behind phrases like overqualified. The psychological toll is huge, confidence shattered, futures uncertain. Visa workers aren't villains, they're seeking opportunity but are also vulnerable. Their right to stay depends on their job, creating constant stress and pressure to perform. This creates a two-tiered workplace, citizens with rights and visa holders with conditions. Resentment and wage pressure follow, as companies can always point to a global pool willing to work for less. The American worker's bargaining power shrinks. So who wins? Big corporations and their shareholders who cut costs and boost profits. IT outsourcing firms who profit by supplying visa workers are also big winners. The losers? Displaced American workers who lose jobs, security, and often their career path. The broader economy suffers too. Lower wages mean less spending and tax revenue. Wage stagnation becomes the norm. America itself loses by neglecting investment in its own workforce. Relying on imported talent is a short-term fix that creates long-term dependency. The incentive to build a strong domestic education pipeline fades. We treat the symptom, not the disease. The real cost is a weakened middle class and a fraying social contract. The system is broken, but what can we do? Reform the H-1B process, prioritize visas for high-paying jobs, not just lottery winners, increase enforcement and auditing, make it risky and expensive to abuse the system, address the root cause, invest in American education and training. Companies relying on visas should help fund domestic skill building. The real question, do we want a ruthless global labor market, or a society where companies invest in their communities? Changing course will take political will and public outrage. The fight won't be easy, but the future of the American middle class depends on it.